Boom. All praise, honor, and glory to the Most High. Why Yahweh Shai. It's your brother Amath IQAhmath, first name. IQ is all the same. Prayerfully, everybody's well, man. You see the title: Harvard astrophysicist scientist or slash scientist concedes, and he admits that the Most High Yahweh is real. God is real. You know, there's always been the dynamic between science and the Bible, right? Or science and religion, so to speak. We know that we don't subscribe to a denominational religion. You know, as Israelites, our religion or our practice is the laws and the commandments. Um, but now you're getting various people in the fields of science who are gathering and getting more evidences of a higher existing intelligence that's behind the creation and behind um, this thing that we call we call Earth and creation, right? So I wanted to share this with brothers and sisters to give you some hope, some inspiration, man, to continually be diligent in your search through the scriptures, your belief in the Most High, your faith in the promises, because it's real, man. This is our book. This is our history. You know, our Father who art in heaven. It's our. That's possessive, right? He's our Father. And he's looking out for us, man. And he cares for us and he wants us to do right so that we can be redeemed out of this place that we call America, hell, or, you know, the four corners of the earth, etc. Right? So without further ado, man, let me go ahead on and get to this article I want to share, a video, and then I want to share a couple of things through the scriptures and also through their own scientific terms that proves that the Bible is real and so is the Most High. All right. If you haven't already, man, you know what to do. You should already know what to do, man. Hit that like button, wipe your feet, uh, you know, do the things that you were raised to do. You know, your mom and them told you, hey, be respectful when you go over somebody's house. If they ask you to wipe your feet, take off your shoes, you do that, right? You was told don't sit on the couch that had the plastic on it, you don't do that. So, in like manner, you come to this house, man, come on, show some love. Go ahead and hit that like button, trigger the algorithm, share the video, share the video. A lot of y'all on social media and all that, man, it's okay. You can share with your friends. Don't be ashamed. You know what I'm saying? But without further ado, let's get to it. All right. Uh, let's go here. And here we see here. All right. Harvard scientist reveals formula that proves God is real. Science is sometimes seen as an antithesis to religion, but a Harvard scientist claims a mathematical formula actually proves God's existence. Dr. Willie Soon, an astrophysicist and aerospace engineer, recently spoke on the Tucker Carlson network, where he detailed how the prediction of antimatter in 1928 suggests the universe had an intentional design. That's key. And we're going to get that through their own um, scientific terms and theologies or uh, their own theses in regards to how they come up with particular formulas of understanding. We'll get that, right? That says Dr. Soon referred to the quote fine tuning argument, which suggests universe's physical laws and conditions are precisely suited for life to exist. That is highly improbable this occurred by chance. In other words, there's no way that this place could have been created precisely for life to exist here by chance or a big bang or, you know, just by some happenstance. That this place was created perfectly to sustain life. It just didn't happen that way. It had to happen because there was an intelligent design behind it. Antimatter and matter formed together with the after the Big Bang, but there's less antimatter in the universe. Antimatter has the opposite charge of the matter, so if they are equal, they would cancel each other out. Let me read that again. Antimatter and matter formed together after the Big Bang, but there's less antimatter in the universe. Antimatter has the opposite charge of matter, so if they were equal, they would cancel each other out. So just the theory of matter that's created after a bang, they'll cancel each other out because of the disparities of what it would take for matter to create a new creation, so to speak. It wouldn't be enough to make it happen. The asymmetry between matter, antimatter, and universe is interpreted as indicative of an intentional design, right? So, because of that fact, there had to been an intelligent design behind it. Dr. Soon said that there are moments in physics or mathematics that have no connection to the real world, but they still turn out to be true, like Cambridge professor Paul Dirac's equation that broke the known laws of physics. Dirac is considered, quote, the father of antimatter, accidentally finding it existed before it was actually confirmed in 1932. So, what he's dealing with is helping us understand regarding that when antimatter and matter were present with the creation, it had to been done with a design that was intentional in order to create life, right? So let's look at this real quick. Matter of fact, let's start off here first. And let's get a quick disclaimer in Psalms 14. Psalm 14, and we're going to read verse 1. It says, the fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good. Yeah, because when one denies the existence of an intelligent power, a self-existent, eternal power that's greater than ourselves, that actually is performing and showing things that should have you scratching your head saying, man, that's only God can do that, right? There's no other evidences. You can't come up with a hypothesis to try to figure out or an educated guess of how or why things are occurring. Let's look at Romans, the first chapter. And let's drop down. And we're going to see here. Let's start at verse 17. It says, for therein is the righteousness of God revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith. See, everybody has this principle of belief known as faith, even the atheist, right? And you can say, but that's impossible. How the hell can an atheist? You got to have faith in God. No. Faith, according to the Bible, is the substance of things hoped for, the evidences of things not seen, right? So you have a faith that you're hoping for something to happen, but you see the evidences of it actually manifesting, right? The substance of things that you hope for, but the evidences of things that aren't seen. So when you don't see the evidence of something that was made, it's in front of you, you don't understand, you don't know how it happened. It's like, why does the wind blow? You know, who or what's making that happen? You know, when you're seeing the germination of different plants, vegetables, you know, sprouting from the earth. Why do we have all these particular elements and minerals throughout the earth that help sustain our lives? Why? We were just talking about this the other day. We was out at the beach, and we see how the waves faithfully don't go past the shoreline unless, you know, the Most High does so. And when the waves roll back, you know, the elder made a good point. He said it's like they are bowing down and subjecting themselves to the Most High. So the waves may come crashing up, but when they revert back, they revert back in a bowing motion or a retreat motion, right? So these are all things, man. The Lord said the just are going to live by faith. So I say that to say everybody has some sort of faith, even the atheists. Why do I say that? Because when you drive in that car, you have faith that the brakes is going to work. When you hit that pedal, you expect that car to stop. That's faith because you have no evidences that it's going to. How do you know your brake line wasn't cut? How do you know you don't have, sufficient brake fluid, or any other mechanical problems? When that car starts up and you drive off, you faithfully believe that that's going to happen. When you go to work, atheists go to work, whether you get paid once a week, twice a month, or whatever the case may be, you have faith that that direct deposit is going to be into your account. You count it you count it as good money, as they say, right? So after you've been working, you say, you know what, I'll be able to pay for that on Friday. I get paid on Friday. I'm gonna have that money on Friday. That's faith. How do you know there's not going to be a system collapse, a digital collapse, a bank close, a bank gets bombed? Who knows? How do you know that your job isn't lying and they're writing bounce checks? You know what I'm saying? They could be facing bankruptcy at any other particular points of financial problems, but we believe and have faith that that check is going to clear. So everybody has it, and the Lord says that therein that the Most High is going to reveal it. His revealing and the righteousness of the Most High is going to be revealed from faith to faith. So everyone's got a dispensation of faith within them. How much the Most High reveals to one could be better than, or more than somebody else, because their faith is greater than somebody else's. But it's all there. Everybody's got it. But the key is that the just, those who are going to be justified, those who are going to be acknowledged and sealed by the Lord, he said they're going to live by that faith. See, atheists and somebody else, they're not going to live by their faith. They're just going to, chalk it up as chance, yin and yang, and create all kind of goofy scientific scenarios or vanities within their own thoughts. They're manifesting. They're doing all these things themselves, right? But no, the Lord said the just is going to live by faith. Continuing on. For the wrath of the Most High is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath showed it unto them. Verse 20, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. So the invisible things of creation, they're clearly seen, right? When you see in the mountains and you've got free-flowing waterfalls that come down with their fresh water sources, those things were invisible. We didn't see them, how they were created, what made them happen. Water streams going down, feeding life, from plant life to animals to you name it. It's all there, right? Human life. You got the Amazon rainforest with all of the trees there. That I forgot how much of the percentage of CO2 and oxygen that it provides. Matter of fact, maybe we can find that out. Let me see real quick. See how much does it provide? Okay, so I guess that was see here they're saying some videos on here saying Amazon rainforest produces 20% of the Earth's oxygen. That's what I was thinking about, but I haven't looked at these other articles which says it doesn't really produce it. According to quote unquote AI, it says it's 16%. The Amazon rainforest is estimated to contribute about 16% of the oxygen produced on the land, but due to the balance of oxygen production and consumption, its net contribution to the atmosphere is close to zero. Yeah, because they've been trying to, destroy the rainforest and everything else. But the fact of the matter is that we do get essences of oxygen that come from the plant life. But because of the destructive nature of the so-called white man and everything that he's been doing, and our own ways, we've had those particular resources depleted. But this is just evidence what the Lord said, that for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. So when you see the sun, moon, stars, these are all things that we wasn't visible. We wasn't there when they was created, but they're clearly seen. You see the beaches, you see the oceans, you feel the wind blow. These are all things that were invisible to us, but now they're clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Right. So this is all getting into acknowledging the Creator, acknowledging the existence of the Most High, acknowledging his power. And this is what is being expressed here. And then later we see that there was a rejection of his power, rejection of his commandments, rejection of his creation, and how the Most High felt about that amongst his people, right, and the rest of the earth. So here we're seeing here Dr. Willie Soon saying that there was an intentional design, right? Let me let him Where's it?
You were telling me.
Here we go. Let's play.
You see God or evidence of God in math.
Well,
can you explain what you were saying? Or maybe I misread what you were saying.
See, even the pride of him still being an astrophysicist, even him acknowledging that he believes in God and so forth and so on, like he still is hesitant to just come out and just fully, just faithfully be. You know, when Tucker Carlson says, "Well, you said that you were seeing God," well, you know, like, well, I kind of. This is why I say he concedes and says, "Hey, you know what? I'm sorry. Yeah, God is real." Watch this.
You see God or evidence of God in math.
Well,
can you explain what you were saying? Or maybe I misread what you were saying.
No, you did not. I mean, I have been closer and closer to God in the sense that because it takes me a long time, I'm rather rebellious. You know, I have to say, wait, God, you got to prove it to me. Show it to me, buddy.
See that? He says he's rather rebellious. That's because the Most High is not dealing with these other nations, right? They rather believe in Buddha, Confucius, science, technology, everything but, right?
Just kidding. Oh, I'm sorry to anybody. No offense. But I really say
he knew he better stop playing around with our power. Oh, just kidding. I'm sorry. Anybody offended? Yeah. See, the carnal nature of the heathen, man, they can't, you know, get with the spiritual nature of our power. Scriptures tell us, man, the Most High is the Spirit. They that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. That's in John 4. Let's read that real quick. John 4:24. The Most High is the Spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. The qualifications was must worship him in spirit and in truth. You can't do, you know, one or the other. You understand what I'm saying? You can't be carnally minded and trying to approach a highly intelligent spirit that's self-existing, right? You can't do that. So let me go ahead on back over here and play the rest of this clip.
In that way, you know, you talk to yourself. In many moments in history of physics or mathematics, things come out. You see, mathematics, you know, is this very pure word that it seems to have no connection to real world physics.
That's right.
It's true. It's complex number is one of them. But it appears in quantum mechanics, right? It's so beautiful. Just have to tell you that you have to bow down. You have to occasionally take a deep breath. And maybe
you have to bow down. I mean, well, he's got to surrender. Science, astrophysicists, all that. He said that you got to bow down to the Most High God, Yahweh, the God of Israel, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He said that we can't prove what everything that we're coming up with, quantum mechanics, physics, the numbers. It's not adding up, but it is leading towards us knowing that something else is greater than our calculations and our formulations. So let's bow down.
Ever presence of these forces that allow us to illuminate our life. And I tell you, God has given us all this light that tell us that we have to follow the light and do the best we can.
You see.
Follow the light, huh? Well, I don't know if he's going to be willing to do that, but we do know that he can't do that. But the scriptures tell us, where's that in Proverbs 6 and here we go. 6:23. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproofs of instruction are the way of life. So even he, through his ignorance, he don't understand what he just said, but what he said was key. He said we got to follow the light. He said God gives us this light, and we have to follow it, right? So let's look at a couple other things I want to share with you. Let's look at this one first. Now, this is essentially some of what he was trying to express without, you know, saying the particular term. Now, this is called the anthropic principle. This is from their realms of science, in physics, what do they call it? Astrophysics, right? The anthropic principle in cosmology, any consideration of the structure of the universe, the values the constants of nature or the laws of nature that has a bearing upon the existence of life. So, in layman's terms, it's basically acknowledging that the universe is constructed in a fashion that is made to sustain life. So, it's built upon laws of nature that is going to be contingent upon having an existence of life, right? So it says clearly humanity's very existence shows that the current structure of the universe and the values taken by the constants of nature permit life to exist. So the universe has been constructed and built so that life can exist. That doesn't happen by a big bang. It doesn't happen by chance. You can't say something exploded and all of a sudden all the elements that's necessary for life to exist just happened to just formulate itself. It was naturally put in order so that it can help life exist. No. Indeed, it appears that many features of the universe that are necessary for the evolution and persistence of life are the results of unusual coincidences between the different values of the constants of nature, quantities such as the mass of the electron, the strength of gravity, or the lifetime of the neutron. These are all neutrons, electrons, protons. These are all forms of energy, right? And that's a whole nother thing. We deal with things like thermodynamics. These are all things that energy, heat, of what's happening. And these are elements that were created in order to build and make what we know as Earth, right? Quantities of the mass, electron, the strength of gravity, or the lifetime of the neutron. The significance, if any, of these coincidences is not understood. What is understood is that if these quantities were slightly altered, then no form of complexity or life could exist in the universe. Did you hear that? They said they don't know, it's not understood how the coincidences of electrons, gravity, neutrons, all them things happen. Why that there's a persistence of life that was done via this creation. They can't say why this is happening. They said, but all they do know is that if there was any alterations, if anything was off on that, life couldn't exist in this universe. If anything was off, one job, one till something was off, it would not happen, which means that through randomness of an explosion, there's no way that can happen. Isaiah 45:18, for thus saith Yahweh, that created the heavens, the Most High himself that formed the earth and made it. He hath established it. He created it, not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. So look at that. We just got to understand, if there was anything off on it, you could not sustain life. So even through their own knowledges of the anthropic principle, right? This goes to show you that the Most High is what and who created everything because it was done intelligently. I mean, you got to look at it. You got the atmosphere that's necessary for us to exist. You got oxygen, you got the air, you got water, you got plant life. Like I may mention before, you got various elements that come from the earth that help us sustain ourselves. Why do we see this such an uptick with herbal and homeopathic methods of healing, right? That our people are all getting hip to. And some have been hip to it for years on end. But we're seeing that just the earth itself has been capable of helping. You know, the scriptures tell us that in Sirach 38. It says the herbs that come from the earth were made for healing. So the Most High even provided medicines, not only food, but medicines for us, right? Things that help us sustain and drink, water for our nutrients. When you got things from magnesium to copper to gold that's good for us, salt, everything that's already been created and coming from this earth was already made to help sustain life. You can't make that up. You can't just randomly just say, oh, that just happened. We'll figure it out. We're going to have some excuse. We're going to have some reason, but it's going to be based on our terms. No, it's going to be based on the Most High's terms. Job 38:4. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. See, that's the challenge to the vanity of science and the so-called white man. It's like, well, where were you at when it was done? If not explain it. Well, it happened to be a random explosion. And then through that, there was various other planets and particles and antimatter and matter that was created that formulated self-existence, and then you had salamanders crawling out of the oceans and getting on 2 feet and knuckle dragging their way through, and then they look like monkeys. And I mean, come on, man. Yeah, evolution, right? Isaac Newton sitting underneath of a tree and gets hit upside the head with an apple that fell. Oh, let's grab it. What? The Earth is 900 million billion years old. I mean, this is all hypothetical crap that the so-called white man comes up with, and he's trying to confuse, throw off, and ignore the fact that he has elements of his study and research that lead towards acknowledging an intelligent creator, but they'd rather give a bunch of different excuses or reasonings as why you shouldn't believe it, right? But let's continue. Where was thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. Who have laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest, or who have stretched the line upon it? So even when it comes down to the construction and the lining of the earth, the borderings and the creations of the land masses and so forth. So who did all this? Wherefore are the foundations thereof fastened, or who laid the cornerstone thereof? Even when you get into Genesis, the 10th chapter, and it says that the great earthquake caused a separation, after Peleg. When you look at the original formulation before the separation of the earth, all the continents fit together in one puzzle. Hold on. Let me see if I can find. Yeah, you see this? Look how you've got certain elements here where you had everything closed off. Now, South America, you can see, could slide up in there. North America, when you put it all together, and you're seeing one particular puzzle piece of a creation all in one, even here, right? But then you had Peleg in Genesis 11. Let's get that real quick. I didn't want this to be too long, but the spirit's moving. That's how I go. But let's look at no, I'm sorry, 10. Where's Peleg at? Here we go. Genesis 10:25. And unto Eber were born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. So let's look at this real quick. Peleg, or Pelag in the Hebrew, right? What was his name? Earthquake. Why was this significant? Because our people would name, that's why the scriptures also say in Proverbs 22 that a good name is more valuable than precious rubies, right? Because our names were purposeful. There was understanding behind the names. It could have been an event that was happening, it could have been things that was happening, spiritual emotions or things that the wife was experiencing. It could have been, something that happened at the conception that, made them name a child as such. There was purpose behind the name, in other words, right? So with Peleg, there was an earthquake that caused a dividing of the nation. And this is where we'll see the beginning of the separations of the nations. And even then, you notice that when they broke off, they faithfully kept in their positions. They didn't keep floating and going elsewhere. They moved in the particular distance and they stay there, right? So that was just another thing that we see here via the construction of the earth, faithfully being done. Let's go back to Job again. What was that? Job 38, and pick it up at verse 6 again. It says, whereupon the foundations thereof fastened. So what's holding them in their fastened position? What's keeping them faithfully in their regions, right? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof? When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of the Most High shouted for joy. Because this is what happens when you're dealing with the elements of creation, right? So I'm gonna stop there because I want to look at one other thing, and this is the law of biogenesis. This is all part of scientific communities, theories of creation and knowledge, right? Now, the law of biogenesis says, it states that life arises from pre-existing life, not from non-living matter. It means that a non-living thing would not have the capacity to engender a living thing. What is that saying? In other words, life can only come from life. Okay? A specific organism can only bring forth its own kind. So we see even that in Genesis, the first chapter, 1, and Genesis 1, and let's look at verse 11. It says, and the power said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so, right? Verse 12, and the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And the Most High saw that it was good, or the power saw that it was good. The Elohim saw that it was good. When we're talking about the existence of the Most High, yes, he's a spirit, but the Most High is alive, right? Now, even when we're dealing with creation and getting back into Genesis, and when that word God, it means the Elohim or the Elohim are the ones who were part of the creation. Christ was there in the beginning as well. He was like the foreman, overseeing the project of the blueprint known as the earth, right? And when you hear about let us create man in his image, right? These are all the elements that we're getting with the creation. Life can only come from life. So when creation was created after their kind, it's because of the law of biogenesis. Again, the law of biogenesis states that life arises from pre-existing life, not from non-living matter. Right? It means that a non-living thing will not have the capacity to engender a living thing. Only another life can do that. The complex organized structures and processes in living organisms cannot spontaneously arise or develop through chemical reactions, a big bang, or anything else like that, or physical means alone. You cannot have life that came from a destruction. There's no life in that, right? A life can only produce a life. They require a pre-existing living system as the source of the new life. Okay, so even with that, that also is another precept in 1 Corinthians. And let's read 38 and 39. It says, but the Most High giveth it a body as it pleased him, and to every seed his own body. See that? Life within life, right? Just like we read in Genesis. The herb yielding seed after his kind. The Most High giveth it a body as it pleased him, and to every seed his own body. Continuing on, all flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another flesh of fishes, and another of birds. So all elements that we see with creation, the beasts are going to only produce beasts because that's the life that it comes from. Fishes, they're going to produce other fish. Birds, men, etc. You understand what I'm saying? That's how things are established via the creation. And Professor Jung, Soon, Dr. Willie Soon, I should say, not Professor. Dr. Willie Soon has decided to say he's going to bow down. And he believes that the Most High is real. Science proves that it's real. Math proves that he's real, right? And not only that, the Bible proves that he's real. All praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh Shai. Hopefully that was edifying for brothers and sisters, man. And continually support the channel, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, man. And lastly, fear the Most High and keep the commandments. And